Welcome to another video. In this video, I'll be going over of my 10 before the end, which is 10 books that I want to read before the end of 2024, which is literally insane that we're at the end of this year. But anyway, I'm just gonna jump right into the books. So in no particular order, well, the order is the order I grabbed them in / size order, because the smallest one is the one I'm going to talk about first. And that is the second book in the Mistborn series. So this is a fantasy series that I really am not sure how to describe. I read the first book, which is called The Final Empire, I think, like 2 years ago, because it's one of my friend's like favorite series. And then I liked it, but like I'm just like not super into fantasy, so I didn't continue it right away. But my boyfriend just read the trilogy in the past few months, and he's like wanting someone to talk about it with. So I was like, okay, I'll read it soon. So on my 10 before the end is the second book in the Mistborn series, which is called The Well of Ascension. Mistborn is like a fantasy series set in like, I literally don't even know how to describe it. It's about this girl, this like kingdom, people have sort of like magical abilities, but it has to do with like metals and like controlling metals, and it has to do with like their bodies, and like they can control the metals in their bodies to do things, if that makes any sense. So there's this main character called Vin, I think, and she kind of gets like absorbed into like this group. It's not quite a heist, but like it's like this group that's like trying to like do something to like the people in like charge. And it's been a couple years since I read the series. I also don't really know how to describe it any kind of fantasy. This is the second book in that series. I promise I did like the first one. It's just been a couple years. I'm not really sure how to describe it. But yep, that's one. That's one I want to read. The next book in my pile is Next of Kin by Hannah Bonham Young. So this is the author that wrote Out on a Limb, and that's one of my favorite books that I read this year. I just like read it on like a fluke. I listened to it as an audiobook. I really loved it. I told my boyfriend so much about the book that he was at Barnes & Noble the other day with his friend, and he was looking for a copy to buy me Out on a Limb because I don't have it. They didn't have it, but they had another book first called Next of Kin. So he bought that for me. So this is something I do want to read soon, since I really loved her writing Out on a Limb. But this one is about this woman. Yeah. So this woman named Chloe, her birth mother has another baby, and then Chloe ends up taking custody of that child. And then this other guy named Warren, who gets custody of his little brother, and then they end up living together and raising the kids together, even though they like don't really like each other. Like, doesn't that sound like so cute? I mean, it does to me, because I love plots with children. So I'm really excited about this one, and my boyfriend knows me very well. The next book in my stack is Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas. I have read Assassin's Blade, which is the prequel to the series. There is argument about whether to read that one first or read it third. I read it first, and I really liked it. I think once reading the series, I will really like that I read that one first, because I've heard people say that you like really get to know Celaena, if that's how you say her name, by reading like her backstory before this book. But this is a like YA fantasy series about this assassin named Celaena. Again, I don't know how to say her name. But yeah, and in this is the first book. So in this book, she is like in this prison, and she has to like defeat like 20 something people or whatever. And then she is basically competing for her freedom. And yeah, so that's what like the first book starts out as. But like if you read Assassin's Blade, then you see like why she ended up in the prison, which I really like knowing her backstory. So Throne of Glass is something I really want to get into. I tried to read A Court of Thorns and Roses. I read the first one. I've read it twice. I like it. I just can't. Like, I just don't feel like continuing the series. It's like not never, but like not right now. So I do want to give Throne of Glass a chance, because I know you're supposed to read A Court of Thorns and Roses first. But you know, if I like this series, this is the one I want to read. So I want to get into this series now. The next book in my stack is The Final Girl Support Group by Grady Hendrix. This is about this girl who's in this like support group for final girls, like any kind of people. You know, if you've seen like a horror movie, the final girl like idea where there's like one person that outlives the like massacre happening. So it's this like a book about this real life final girls where they survive something, they're in a support group, and then one of them goes missing, and the main character is worried that someone is picking them off one by one. And I'm really excited to get to this book, because I have gotten into horror movies in the last couple years, like the like classics, you know, like Scream and Halloween and all that stuff. They're just so fun. So I'm like really excited to read this book, knowing that I'm like into that kind of thing now. The next book on my stack is Killer Instinct by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. This is a sequel to The Naturals, which is a series that is a YA series. It's basically like teenagers in criminal minds. Like each of them has not like an ability like it's magic, but just like heightened. Like they're really good at something. Like one person's really good at reading people. One person's really good at detecting lies. One person's really good with numbers. And so like a government agency got these teenagers together and they are like honing their abilities and they let them work on cold cases, but they get sucked into like real active cases. And I really loved the first one. And so I got the second one not long after, and then I haven't continued it yet, but I really would like to, because it's like a really fun concept and it's like pretty easy to read since it is YA, but it's not like, it gets dark. Like it's not like it's simple because it's YA. It's just like easy to read, if that makes sense. But yeah, I'm actually currently reading The Inheritance Games by Jennifer Lynn Barnes, which I know a lot of people like and I haven't read yet. And it's just making me like want to get back into the series because I'm enjoying that. She just writes good books, guys. The next book in my stack is Love and Other Words by Christina Lauren. I've had this book for a while because this is like Sarah Caroli's like one of her like top reads of all time that she talks about like all the time. And so I got it to read it and I just haven't read it yet. My problem is like I always like love reading romance, but sometimes it's just hard for me to pick it up unless I have a reason. So like a lot of the romance books I read, it's because I'm reading them like as part of the book club I'm in or like a specific video idea for it. Even though I love romance, I just never reach for it. But anyway, I do want to get to this one soon because like I think it's just this edition that I have, which is like the newer edition. It just gives like cozy winter vibes. Like there's like little Christmas trees and mugs and blankets, and it's just, doesn't this scream like December? So this is something I want to read this November or December because it's just giving like cozy. And I need to see what the hype is. The next book in my stack is another book I want to read because of Sarah Caroli. Most of this, like half of this stack, is because of Sarah Caroli. She's my favorite YouTuber, what can I say? But this is Heartstopper by Alice Oseman. I've actually had this copy for a long time, like before I watched Sarah, because so many people love it, that I did buy a copy when I was like working at a bookstore so I could get the discount. And I just haven't picked it up because I just don't. Prior to this year, I never really read graphic novels. I was just, not that I wasn't interested in them, I just had a problem with like just wanting to read the words and skipping over the pictures, which is like literally the whole point. But this year I did start reading manga. So I like, now, since I like reading graphic novels, it's the perfect time to read Heartstopper. And since Sarah loves it so much, like I really want to give it a chance. So this is a graphic novel about two teenage boys, Nick and Charlie, and they like befriend each other and they like go through things and they're there for each other and it's like romance. And I don't know too much about it. I just know that it's like really cute, really wholesome, but does touch on dark topics, especially like the later ones. I've heard that, so maybe check trigger warnings for this one. But yeah, I think it's gonna be really cute, and like just the style is like so pretty. And like it's like graphic novel, like I've never like seen stuff like this before. Like, I don't know, just the style, the colors, like I think it'll be really fun if I just like make myself read it. So I would like to do that soon. The next book in my stack is the last physical book I have for this list, but that is Swordcatcher by Cassandra Clare. Cassandra Clare is one of my favorite authors. She wrote Shadowhunters, which is like space of honor on my wall, right? So like Shadowhunters is one of the like first series I read. I don't credit Shadowhunters for getting me into reading because that was more like Twilight and like Maximum Ride, like those were the very first I read. But I definitely read Cassandra Clare when I was like 12 and I'm 25 now. So it's really wild like how long I've been reading her books. Like when I started reading her books, there was only 4 of them. And now there's like 20. But anyway, this is her first adult fantasy book. And since, I've been getting into fantasy over the past like year, I am like have been really excited to read this and see what she does with an adult fantasy world, because this is like a complete made up world. Like she created a whole new world for the series. And I think it sounds really good. It's just really big. It is a brick of a book. And I'm always hesitant to go into fantasy, even though I think I'm gonna like it. So yeah, so this is about this made up kingdom. The main character, Kel, basically he was raised to be a body double, like the sword catcher for the prince. So he's been raised to die for the prince. And then the other main character's name is Lynn, and she has like some magical abilities, and they team up to find stuff out about like the villain of the story, which is like the rag picker or something. Yeah, it says they're drawn into the web of the mysterious rag picker king, the criminal ruler of Castellan's underworld. So like, I just think it'd be so good, and I know it's gonna be a series, and the second one's coming out at the beginning of next year, I think. So like, I really need to read this because I've had it for a while now. I think this came out like a year ago, maybe longer. It has a quote from George R.R. Martin on the cover. Like, everything I look for in fantasy. From like George R.R. Martin, Game of Thrones. Like, anyway. So my stack is falling over. So for the last 2 books in my 10, I am cheating a little bit, and it's series. So one of them is Shatter Me by... don't know. I've been slowly reading through the Shatter Me books over the course of this year. I read them from the library, so it's kind of just whenever the holds come in. But I only have 2 left. I only have number 6 and 6.5 left, which is the novella that comes after it, and then I'm done. So I really want to read those before the year ends so I can say that I read the whole series this year. So again, I'm cheating a little bit. My like number 9 of the 10 is book 6 and 6.5. I don't know what they're called. I couldn't tell you any of the names of those books except for the first one, which is Shatter Me. Shatter Me is a YA dystopian series that like I don't personally love. I think they're kind of mid and they're kind of like aggravating, but it's like YA dystopian, so like what do you expect? But yeah, they're just entertaining and I really need to know what happens. And yeah, so it's about this like dystopian world about this girl named Juliet. She has this ability where if you touch her or she touches you, you die. And then there's like a rebellion, and yeah, a lot happens that I cannot talk about, but that is the basis of the series. And then my number 10 of my 10 is Me Cheating Again, which is a series, the Hunger Games trilogy, the 3 books. So I love the Hunger Games. It is one of my favorite series of all time. I know I sound like a broken record if you've watched any of my videos. I talk about the Hunger Games a lot, but if you have not read it since you were a child, please read it as an adult. It is such a good series, and it's more relevant now than like it's ever been. I don't know how she does it. It was relevant 15 years ago. It's relevant now. Like it will always be relevant in this country, I think. Yeah, I read it when I was like 12, of course, like, you know, everyone does in middle school. And then it was just like any other series. And then I reread it again when I was like 21 and just saw it with whole new eyes. And so I've been reading it like 3 times a year ever since then. And I've only read it once this year, so I need to read all 3 books again this year. I would like to read my physical copies because I do have an annotated set that I've annotated once. So I would like to read them physically again to like add to my annotations, but if I can't read them physically this year, then I'll listen to them again this year before the year ends to get my second read through. And then I will probably go through and annotate them again. If I don't do that before the end of the year, I will do that before the next book comes out in March. I'm so excited. And it comes out on my birthday. I'm so excited. But anyway, yeah, so again, cheating, that's 3 books, but I do want to read them before the year's end. And then those are my 10, but little bonus, I want to read more One Piece. I've been reading One Piece manga this year because my friends are obsessed with One Piece, and we cosplayed as One Piece characters at the beginning of this year at GalaxyCon, and so that like got me into liking One Piece, and now I'm reading the manga. And I just read them like in between books as like palate cleansers. So I'm not sure how many I'll read before the end of the year, but I would like to keep reading them. I have the box set I'm borrowing from my friend. So I have the box set. I think I've read 12 so far. I have read 12 so far, and there's 23 in this box set. So I won't be reading 11 more manga this year. I am sorry, Caduce. But I will be reading hopefully at least half of them. They really don't take long. It takes me between an hour and 2 hours to read one. It really just depends on how much action is in it, because I gotta like look longer at like action shots to like know what's happening. But yeah, so here are the volumes. It doesn't have 12 in here because I just read that one, so I don't have that one in here right now. But this is what I have left to read before I'm done with this box set. And hopefully I'm gonna say it right here, I want to at least get through 18 before the end of the year. And in a month and a half, oh my God, the year ends in a month and a half. In a month and a half, we'll see if I got through 18 or not. But that is my goal. I'm saying it right now. That's 5. I think I can read 5 in addition to all those books. But we'll see. Yeah, so that's my little bonus of my 10 before the end. But yeah, so those are the books that I'm hoping to read before the end of the year. But like also I'm like a severe mood reader. So who's to say if I will read all those or not? It's extremely ambitious of me because most of those are physical books and I typically only read 3 to 4 physical books in a month. And that's more than I could read in a month and a half. But maybe I'll read some of them. I don't know. We'll see. So yeah, that's it. Those are the books on my TBR right now. Who knows what I'll be thinking in December. But yeah, so thank you for watching. I will probably do a reading vlog trying to get through some of those books. So keep an eye out for that. And yeah, bye.